Hey guys, welcome back to another video. It's your man Jay. Did you buy the right C8? Did you buy the right Corvette? The C8 generation is probably one of the most popular generations besides the C6 era. Okay, now C6 to me is king of the hill when it comes to Corvettes. This is what I think. The 4, 5, and 6 are the best ever. I do not like the C7 at all. But 4, 5, and 6, those are the best generations that I grew up with and I really love. But the C8 is nice. It's the first mid-engine and it came out in 2020. And so I meet a lot of people in person when I go to different events and things like that. I meet a lot of people and the conversation always starts about money. They start talking about price and what they paid and those other things. And I thought, man, I don't say anything out loud to them, but I always say to myself, man, you paid $122,000 for a Stingray. You could have gotten something else. And the reason I don't say that out loud is because it'll offend them. And I'm not crapping on anybody else's decisions in their face like that. I respect their whatever they want to do. But in the same conversation, I want to say something sometimes because the conversation always goes to, man, I really wanted a Z06. I wish I can get an E-Ray. And I'm thinking, man, you just spent more money than a Z06 and more money than an E-Ray. Like, why do that? This is a very popular thing. I've been at plenty of meetups. And most of the people that are driving, there's always more Stingrays. There's tons of Stingrays at these meetups. And there's no E-Rays and there's several Z06s. Not a lot of Z06s, but more than E-Rays and nowhere near as many as Stingrays. The Stingray is the car that most people can obtain. And as long as the Stingray exists, it is one of the best deals on any sports car and exotic. I mean, the C8 Stingray, not the Z06, the E-Ray. The Stingray starting price at current day is December 2024 is $68,000. But all the Stingrays now are discounted, $5,000, $10,000, $6,000. All you have to do is look. They want to move these 24 models now because the 25 models are coming out. I've seen some as low as $8,000 off locally. I just couldn't believe it. I was like, man, I could grab another Stingray, but I don't need it. I have an E-Ray. But the point is, as long as the Stingray exists at those great prices, all the other cars that it's competing against, to me, just they can't compete. The Stingray is exotic. It looks the part. It feels the part. It drives the part. It is one of the best. And with a couple of mods, the Stingray is just whipping up on, you can take a $60,000 Stingray, a $68,000 Stingray, you get a discount on it to 64, 65, whatever your discount is. Dump a supercharger on it. If this is your thing, this isn't my thing, but you can modify that car quickly and pull more power than anything on the street just about in that it's competing against. And you save a lot of money. The cars that the Stingray compete against just don't look as good in my that's subjective, but you know, you talk about having an exotic sports car, the Stingray is just it. Like all the other cars like the Supras and all those cars are beautiful, but the Stingray, that car is one to be reckoned with, man. And so when I speak to people at car meets and meetups and car shows or whatever I'm doing, most of the conversation is the same. Man, I really wanted to get a Z06 and I really wanted to get, when I saw the E-Ray was announced, man, I would love to have gotten that one. But they spent a ton of money on a fully loaded Stingray. Now, personally, I wouldn't do it. If my E-Ray came to, now my Stingray that I bought, I shot for the fence with the lowest trim possible just to see if I would like the Stingray. Some people often ask me, well, why'd you get a 1LT? And I was like, I got a 1LT because I don't know how I'm going to feel about this two-seater mid-engine car. It's the first time me being in a Stingray. At that time when I bought they weren't letting you test drive anything. I ordered my car at the end of 2022. It came to me at the beginning of 2023. My dealer, my salesperson, she's awesome. She let me drive a Corvette. She let me drive around the parking lot. I was like, she let me get in it, everything. I was like, this is dope. They just weren't letting you do test drives. It was such a hot item. From 2020 to 2022 at the end, and even now it's a hot item, but you know, they're not marked up as much as they were. If you pay markup on a Corvette right now, you just, something's wrong. But nonetheless, I got that car because I wanted to start small. I was like, I'm going to start with a 1LT, change the color, add the front lip rear spoiler, just basic things. And I bought the car. And I cashed out on it. And I was like, I'm going to take the risk. I'm going to go ahead. I'm not, because the rates were freaking horrible. Even my credit score was 813 at the time, or 816. And they were trying to offer me like 7s and 9s. I was like, that's not going to happen. Getting robbed. And furthermore, everybody back then was paying 25 over, 10 over. They were getting robbed just buying into negative equity. And I said, no, I'm going to negotiate the best I can. It worked out in my favor. I bought the car, got the cashier's check. The car was mine. Title in the safe. So after driving that car, the E-Ray got announced, and I was like, oh, I'm definitely getting the E-Ray, because I had the option to get a Z06. And you heard the story. I was trying to get a Z06 and not this Stingray, but I missed all the allocations. That first Stingray, I missed all the allocations. It was going to be the same thing. It was going to be the red mist metallic, not too many options, a 1LZ. That's the way it was going to be. But, they were selling them for 100 over, and I was just like, it's just not happening. I'm just not doing it. So I said, I'm going to settle for, plus I missed my allocation to even opportunity to get one because they closed the banks really early. And I missed it. So I settled on the Stingray, and settling is a big word because that car is freaking crazy. And I was driving that Stingray for a while. I realized when the E-Ray got announced, I was like, yeah, I really didn't want the Z06, I guess. Now that I'm hearing about this E-Ray, because having all-wheel drive is going to be so crazy. And I wonder what that's going to be like. So I'm glad I didn't get a Z06. I could have still sold my Z06 more than likely and made some way more money than I did. I made money when selling my Stingray after 9 months, I think it was, 10 months. After having that car for that time, I only had 1,200 miles on it too, I believe, or 1,500, something like that. I sold that car and made money off of it and just pocketed the cash. I just put it back in my bank account, then put some of it back on the stock market to grow it until the E-Ray would come. And that's what I did. So I just went without, and I bought several cars in between there. I bought a Mustang just to test it out to see how I would like it. The Mustang was actually sweet, and I do regret selling that car, but I have other plans, and I'm thinking, I play chess, not checkers. So I'm thinking way out, and the Mustang had to go. I didn't hate the Mustang at all. I love the Mustang. I love what I did to it. I stripped all of my stuff off that I could. And that was that. Now I will buy another Mustang at some point manual. I'll order that same car probably, or just get that same car. And I could probably get it pre-owned too. I'm actually tracking my car that I sold, and I know where it went sold to and everything. I sold it, but then I know where it went after that. I pulled the VIN and I could see where it was at. Nonetheless, they were asking way more than what I paid for it, still. But nonetheless, the Stingray, after selling that car, I bought a few cars, and I just wanted to kind of fill the void until the E-Ray came. And finally, my allocation after a year and 3 months, my allocation didn't come up, but this car was sitting in Killeen, Texas, and they were asking, I think, 25 or 30 over at the time. I didn't know that because when I called, I said, I'm not paying. I told them immediately, I'm not paying any markup. I just want to come buy the car if it's really there. I didn't believe it was there because when I bought my E-Ray 6 months ago, it just wasn't available like that, sitting on showroom floors, and it just wasn't accessible like that. Like, people were asking 50 over, 25. They were asking these huge markups, and nobody could really get them. But the people that were getting them were paying 30 over, 40 over. I'm like, I just can't do it. I'm not paying over for a car. I don't care which car it is. I don't care what it is. Even with the ZR1, if I get a ZR1, it's not going to be any markup in it. I'm just not going to do it. I just won't get it. It's just that simple. So, and I do plan on getting a ZR1. I'm already in talks with them. But nonetheless, the E-Ray comes along, and I thought, man, this is a car that I really like. I'm so happy I didn't get a Z06. I didn't want a Z06 probably really in the end. Because my Z06 mindset was behind the C6 Z06. But, a lot of people who look at the Z06 current day C8 generation, they just say, oh, the sound is amazing. I'm never buying a car just for the way it sounds. Now, no disrespect to the people that feel like that, but that's the number one thing I hear from Z06 owners. But nothing can beat that sound. Okay, great. It sounds good. The Z06 owners that I know, they're over the sound. And now they talk about fuel economy, how they don't have as much fun when they're just driving it, because you have to get in the Z06 to actually hear and feel and drive the car. You don't have to do that with an E-Ray. You don't. And I'm not comparing the Z06 and the E-Ray anymore, but I'm quoting Z06 owners that I've spoken to several different Z06 owners. There are some that are like, oh, I track my car all the time. Okay, great. You got the right car then. But there are a lot of Stingray owners, and I speak to them all the time. There are a lot of Stingray owners that have some regrets, or they wish they could get out of their situation but they don't want to take such a huge hit because they probably financed more than they wanted to, or they just paid for their C8, and they don't want to take a hit if they trade it in, because if you trade in a Stingray now, a C8 Stingray, you're not getting anywhere near probably. This is the wrong time to trade in your Stingray because it's at the end of the year. The new one's coming out. The old ones are discounted, which is the 24s, they're discounted. And this is just a bad time to try to do a trade in. So I understand those that might have some concerns about, did I buy the right car? It's okay to it's just stuff anyway. I felt that way about the first Stingray that I bought for a few things because of the heating wasn't there. It was killing my garage with heat. I didn't have the Z51 package. I had some minor regrets after that. I was like, man, people with Z51 package was like, man, my garage is cool because the Z51 package had the extra cooling. And so they weren't having that problem. I had to install I didn't have to, but I installed extra fans all around the top part of my garage to keep it cool, and it still wasn't doing enough. So there were some things that agitated me with the car, but thank goodness I was able to get out of it and make money off of that car. I sold that car for more than what I paid for it. Not a lot, but I sold a few thousand over. But talking to owners of Stingrays, there's this question in their head, man, I really would love to move up to an E-Ray, but I don't think it's worth the 50,000 extra or whatever car they have, the 20,000 extra, the 30,000 extra. But I know C8 owners, Stingray owners, they're well over $100,000, and it's a Stingray. So, and a lot of them, and it's not these cars have superchargers added or anything. They're just high priced Stingrays. They still only have 495 horsepower and 470 torque. They don't have the performance there. It's just all cosmetics. It's just looks. And I think a lot of Stingray owners are going to say, oh, I'm happy with my car. But a lot of Stingray owners I meet and some of you guys are happy with your car. I get it. That's why did you buy the right Corvette? If you bought the C8 Stingray with no intentions on selling it, and you're going to just modify the crap out of it, I get it. You did buy the right car. You're willing to hang in there and stick with it. You don't have time to be switching cars and trading out, or you don't want to waste your time, or you feel like you're wasting your time switching out to get something else. But I'm telling you, folks, there are way more Stingray owners. Every Stingray owner I meet just about is start asking me about the E-Ray. Is it really that powerful? Is it worth the extra money? And I pretty much paid double what I paid for my Stingray, because almost double. I paid $68,000 cash for my 23 C8 that I ordered, this brand new Stingray. After taxes, it was $72,000. So I'm at about $50,000 more, because this car was $122,000 before taxes. It was $130,000. And the same thing, I got a cashier's check. Car's mine. That's it. Title in my safe. So I paid almost double. And I'm telling you, from where I came from a 1LT. This car is like mind blowing to me. So the people out there that have a 3LT Stingray, that costs like $120, some of these Stingrays can get really high in price. Go on the website and spec one out yourself. They may start at $68,000 or so for 1LT, but if you go in and spec this car out, you'll be way into Z06 pricing and way into E-Ray pricing. You'll be way up there very quickly. I don't personally feel like anything past the 2LZ or the 2LT is worth it. It's just looks at that point. Now that I actually own a 2LZ, remember, I started with a 1LT, which is no air conditioning seats, no blind spot monitoring. But the new Corvettes come now with the rear view camera, the camera at least. But I have my car with the full camera system. I just don't have all the carbon fiber and all the extra stuff. The 3LZ, I've had people try to convince me that the 3LZ is the ultimate. You're just getting a few more options to make the car look different. You're not getting any more difference performance, anything like that. You're getting more options to spend more money on carbon fiber and all these different things, all of which can be added a la carte afterwards. And it's much cheaper than GM's pricing, more than likely. But nonetheless, respect to the other guy's build, there are 3LT Stingrays out there that cost more than the Z06 and the E-Ray. So the question looms in my head is, in some of these other Stingray owners that I talk to, are you going to buy a fully loaded 3LT that's way more than a Z06 or an E-Ray? Or are you going to buy E-Ray or a Z06 that possibly costs less? And because you can spec these cars, you can have a 3LZ that's not high in price. There's 3LZs out there that cost less than my car. They just don't have any options. Or they're a convertible with no options, or they're just a 3LZ with just no options, and they cost less than my 2LZ. But my 2LZ is loaded with front lift and a bunch of different options. And that's why the price is $122. Now, my build officially came to $110 when I built my E-Ray that I submitted to be ordered. And it wasn't a 2LZ. But after having the 2LZ, I thought, wow, I'm kind of glad that I found this car sitting on the showroom floor in Killeen. And it's got options that I would not have purchased, but they are useful. Like the front lift and everything, that they're useful. I like the full camera system. That's pretty nice. So, did you buy the right C8? Are you happy with your current C8? Or deep down inside, do you really want to move on to the Z06 or the E-Ray? My channel is based off the E-Ray, and I had the option to buy whatever I want. I could have bought the Z06. I didn't want a Z06. I'm not so infatuated with the sound of a Z06. And again, that's what a lot of people talk about. That's the first thing they say. Oh, the sound is amazing. Okay, man. You're willing to spend that much money on a car for sound? This was a conversation I had a long time ago, I believe. Now that it's coming back to me, I've already made a video about the sound of the Z06 and how a person can be so obsessed with buying a Z06 over a Stingray just for the sound. I guess. I'm not saying that in a bad way, but there's no way I'm buying a Z06 just for sound. Z06 is predominantly a track car. And I'm telling you, folks, I know a lot of Z06 owners, C8 generation Z06 owners, and they are a couple things. Some of them be like, I just can't believe that the E-Ray pulls that much harder and that it feels so much faster than my Z06. Their words, not mine. And they also say, I got to really get in this car to really enjoy it. I got to stay in it to enjoy it because the sound, and some Z06 owners modify their already phenomenal sounding exhaust. Stock sounds good on the Z06. Not enough for me to buy it over something else, but it sounds good and people still modify that car. The exhaust, but to each their own. Again, I always respect the other guy's build. The choices they're making is kind of like, that's questionable from where I sit, but hey, you do you, your car, your money, your build. But I know a lot of Z06 owners that all they talk about is the sound. But other than that, they don't have too many things that they really are excited about it. Especially when I pull in with an E-Ray that launches harder, takes off faster. Oh yeah, the Z06 can catch it, all these other things. But a street vet, to me, is not the Z06. And this is according to GM as well. The street vet is the E-Ray because it can be driven all year round. And obviously you can drive these other cars all year round, but the E-Ray is on purpose an all-wheel drive car and an all-around Corvette. There's no denying that. But do you feel like how long have you owned your C8 Stingray? And one last thing before I get out of here, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here, but I've seen a lot of people online justifying paying over for a Stingray. I mean, how do you justify this? I've actually spoken to people and they're like, well, I paid 20 over, but man, my credit union gave me a 5% rate or whatever the rate is. So it's way lower than what people are paying. It balances out, they claim, that current day people may have gotten a discount on it and they didn't have any overages, but I'm still in a good place because I got a lower rate than them. I don't see it. Anytime you're paying over for a vehicle, a depreciating asset, I might add, you're hurting us, everybody else. I'm not willing to pay over for a vehicle, and I'm standing on that. I'm not paying over for a vehicle. It's just not going to happen. There are people out there that just can't do it. They just can't walk away, and they will pay over for a vehicle. I know so many people that have Stingrays that paid over for the Stingray, and some have traded out of it and they lost big time. And some are still with it. They're like, man, I've had this car for 3 years. It is not going anywhere, son. And this is it. I'm in this car. Like I can't get out of it because I don't want to take the hit on the money. And that's what you have to do. So did you buy the right Stingray or C8? Are you happy with your current C8? If you have a C8 generation, I'm not talking to anyone but just C8 generation people who currently own one. is it still in your mind that, because that is I should buy it. Is it worth moving to an E-Ray? Is it worth moving to a Z06? Those are only questions that you will be able to answer yourself if you keep asking that question to current Z06 owners. Because if you talk to a Z06 owner, they're going to tell you the Z06 is the best thing under the water. And if you talk to an E-Ray owner, they're going to say the same thing. Oh, it's the best. It's totally worth it. But they're just telling you how they feel. You don't know how you're going to feel when you spend that extra 20, 50, 60, whatever you're coming from. You don't know how you're going to feel. And especially if you're financing it, if you're financing it, that's a big hefty payment, and you're gonna have to be happy with it. Because if you don't and you trade out of it, you're gonna lose a lot. You're gonna lose a lot of money. So I think, in my personal experience with buying the C8 generation, I was totally happy with a 1LT. I'm getting ready to shock some people. It's just gonna shock you. It might not. It might not. This might not shock a lot of people. But I was totally happy with the 1LT Stingray after owning the E-Ray and my usage. I had custom wheels on order for the Stingray, because my wheels that I wanted to buy weren't available. They were on constraint. And I think if I were to do it all over again, I would just get a 2LT Stingray in the same. I wouldn't get the carbon flash metallic, but I would get my red mist metallic. I just would do it. I would do it all over again. I think I would be totally happy for the way that I'm driving and cruising and everything like that. The regular C8 Stingray is the best sports car in this newer generation. And I'll be totally happy with a 2LT Stingray. Red mist metallic. I might move to a convertible. Now that I'm over this, I got to see the engine thing. But the E-Ray, I want to leave it this way. But if I were to buy another Corvette, it would be a convertible, red mist metallic, 2LT. This is if I wasn't going up, if I wasn't trying to go up to the ZR1. But if I was just going to have a Corvette parked out there, I would just get a 2LT, probably convertible, maybe not even convertible. I might save that money and just get a coupe again. It would be red mist metallic for sure. And I would get the Z51 package probably just for the extra cooling. I'm not sure, but it just wouldn't be a 1LT probably. But if I just wanted to save, I would definitely just get the 1LT. I was totally happy with the 1LT overall. And I could do it again. Like, there doesn't have to be an E-Ray parked out there. I could sell my E-Ray, get another red mist metallic Corvette 1LT, because it now has the rear view camera. Do it exactly like I did before. Just add the front lip spoiler, radiator grill guards, red mist metallic, and I'd be totally happy. That car was sick. It's really good. But I probably would move to the 2LT. I probably would. So, it's your man Jay. Did you buy the right C8? Do you think you bought the right car? Are you happy with your current car? How long have you had it? I see a lot of Stingray owners actually moving to the E-Ray, and it's a pricey jump depending on where you're coming from. But if you already have a car that's over 100,000, you're not going to feel any kind of way probably moving to the E-Ray, because you're probably paying about the same or a little bit more. It's your man Jay. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.